Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome into The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I'm your host, Justin Smith, scouting and recruiting analyst, Touchdown, Alabama. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on our YouTube channel. Be sure to hit like button, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the notification bell, be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. I'm here each week, as always, to break down the latest in Crimson Tide football recruiting news. And on today's episode, I do want to talk about a couple of different things, including a 5-star quarterback in the 2024 recruiting class who's set to announce his commitment on tomorrow, who's considering the Tide, LSU, and Georgia, a guy who the Crimson Tide did host recently. We will talk about him. Talk about Auburn firing Bryan Harsin and the impact it could have on Alabama's recruiting efforts. And I will also discuss Alabama's remaining defensive back targets, with 5-star defensive back Kamani McClain choosing to commit to the Miami Hurricanes over the Florida Gators in the Crimson Tide. So let's not waste no time. Let's dive right into Julian Sayin, the 5-star quarterback out of Carlsbad High School in California, is set to announce his commitment on tomorrow. We'll choose between Alabama, LSU, and Georgia. He will actually announce his commitment live on ESPN during ESPN College Live. I don't think I've ever seen that, but he will have the opportunity to do that. It looks as if they're going to play off the fact that Alabama and LSU are going up against each other this weekend, and they're going to use that to really push for his really push his recruitment to fans, with them looking at LSU and Alabama. Of course, the Crimson Tide hosted them actually a couple of weeks ago when they defeated the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and he spoke highly of the Crimson Tide, saying they are definitely high in my recruitment. He talked about the Crimson Tide highly in the past as well, saying that they definitely surround their quarterback with weapons. Actually has a great relationship with Danny Hernandez, who is a prominent figure on the West Coast in terms of developing quarterbacks on the West Coast. Actually has worked with Bryce Young in the past, worked very closely with Bryce Young during the early part of his high school career and during the earlier part of his development. It was actually Bryce Young's quarterback coach before Bryce Young transferred to Mater Dei in high school. So this guy has a great relationship with Bryce Young, and Bryce Young has a decent relationship with Julian Sayin as well. I'm pretty sure Young has talked to Sayin about becoming a quarterback at Alabama. So has Nick Saban and Bill O'Brien. So the Crimson Tide has done a really good job recruiting Sayin so far here. He's a guy who stands at 6'1", weighs approximately 185 pounds. A guy who can keep plays alive, similar to Bryce Young in that way, in terms of just keeping his eyes downfield. I think he's still developing, still getting better, as well as you guys can see some of his highlights right now. See him moving around the pocket, extending the plays, keeping his eyes downfield all times, making some good throws as well. He is considered one of the top quarterbacks in the 2024 class, so he would be a great pickup for Alabama in the 2024 recruiting cycle. So Julian Sayin set to announce that commitment on tomorrow. Of course, we'll keep you guys updated over at touchdownalabama.com. Now we're going to turn our attention to Quay Russo and James Smith, actually, because I think those are the recruits who will be most impacted by Bryan Harsin not choosing, but being fired by Auburn University, because Quay Russo and James Smith, of course, are considering Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Alabama State, and Ohio State at the moment. Those are their final schools, and Auburn seemed to be in a really good position with the both of them, despite the season that they were having, and that just seemed to be based on a relationship that they have built with both guys. James Smith has a lot of respect for their program. Quay Russo does as well. So the Auburn Tigers were definitely in the mix. I've gone on record and said that I felt that this was an Iron Bowl recruiting battle at one point in time. It looks as if it was continuing to trend that way. But with Auburn firing their head coach, you have to think that it gives those guys something to think about. So I think that does hurt Auburn's chances a little bit, but I think Auburn could still be in the mix, but you just have to think that this does hurt their chances for the duo. Florida seems to be trending in their recruitment at the moment after hosting them for an official visit a couple of weeks ago. So I say watch out for the Gators. Also keep your eyes on Georgia. Georgia has a great defense, has a great defensive mind as their head coach. Georgia's a team that's going to be looking at both of those guys as well. They actually have their Under Armour All-America jerseys presented to them on tomorrow morning. They'll actually be in attendance for that event. Hopefully give you guys another update on both of these guys out of Carver Montgomery High School in Montgomery, Alabama, both 5-star recruits. Of course, James Smith, one of the top interior defensive linemen in the country, big, physical, nasty defensive lineman out of Carver Montgomery. Quay Russo, versatile linebacker, can play standing up, rushing from the edge, can play as an off the ball linebacker. Great at knowing how to contain the edge, as you guys can see, make plays in space, a quick, explosive guy with great closing speed. So these are two guys who the Crimson Tide would love to have, and you just have to think that with Brian Harsin being fired by Auburn University, that is going to play a role in James Smith and Quay Rusaw's recruitment moving forward. But as I said at the top of the show, I did want to talk about the Crimson Tide continuing to recruit defensive backs in the 2023 recruiting class, specifically cornerbacks, because it seems as if they want to add some cornerbacks to this class. They have verbal commitments from Jaleel Hurley, Brayson Hubbard, Caleb Downs, and Tony Mitchell. Of course, I think Caleb Downs, Brayson Hubbard, and Tony Mitchell are projected to be safeties at the next level, but Jaleel Hurley is projected to be a cornerback, long, lengthy guy. So I think the Crimson Tide wants to add another cornerback in this class to go along with Hurley to complete this defensive back group, which is loaded, like I said on a recent video on our YouTube channel. Be sure to check out that video when you get an opportunity. But one of the guys who the Crimson Tide are currently recruiting is Malik Muhammad, who is verbally committed to the Texas Longhorns at the moment. The Crimson Tide really seem to be interested in this defensive back, a guy with extremely long arms, great coverage, great ball skills. Had an opportunity to watch him at the Under Armour Future 50 event a couple of months ago, and he was impressive at that event. The Crimson Tide really seem to like the Texas product. They hope that they can possibly get him on campus at some point before he signs a national letter of intent. That's something to keep your eyes on. But the Crimson Tide really like Malik Muhammad in terms of a defensive back target moving forward. Damari Brown is another guy to keep your eye on. He's a 4-star defensive back out of Florida, out of a school where the Crimson Tide have had some success recruiting defensive backs, including Earl Little and Patrick Surtain. When you talk about American heritage, he's a guy who recently took an unofficial visit to Alabama, so he's still considering the Crimson Tide as a cornerback. So he's a guy to keep your eyes on as well, showing off his ball skills on that last particular play. Another guy to keep your eyes on is 5-star DB Desmond Ricks, who originally basically reclassified from the 2024 class and moved to the 2023 class here, and he's one of the Crimson Tide's top targets, and the Crimson Tide seem to be one of the top teams in this recruitment. I talked to him, similar to Malik Muhammad, at the Under Armour Future 50, and he told me that he knows if he goes to Alabama, he's going to be developed. He knows he's going to have an opportunity to work alongside Nick Saban if he's a cornerback in Tuscaloosa. So he knows that, and he respects that, and that's one of the reasons why he's looking at the Crimson Tide. Tide did host him recently for an unofficial visit, who looks to be in line to get him on campus for an official visit here soon. So that is something to keep your eyes on with Desmond Ricks. Definitely one of the Crimson Tide's top targets, with him being reclassified specifically at that defensive back cornerback position. Tyler Scott is another guy Alabama seems to be high on after recently offering him and recently hosting him for an unofficial visit. The Crimson Tide are just one of the schools who are making a late push for Scott here as signing day gets closer and closer. Scott, similar to Arian Carter, he's a guy whose recruitment basically exploded after a great start and some great performances during his senior season. I really like how physical this guy is in bump and run coverage. That's one of the things I really like about Tyler Scott, and he looks to be plays with confidence. I think if you want to be a cornerback and play cornerback, you have to have this crazy ultimate type of confidence to just go out and say, yo, you're not going to beat me. I know I'm always in position. I know where the football is at all times. I think cornerback has to have that type of mindset, and that type of mindset just seems to pour out on film when I watch Tyler Scott in action, just watching his huddle film. So I really like what I seen from Tyler Scott on film, also showing off that physicality coming down to make a hit on that particular play. So those are the guys who I would keep my eyes on as far as the Crimson Tide recruiting defensive backs in the 2023 recruiting class moving forward. Of course, that 2020 defensive back class is loaded from top to bottom with the guys they do have verbally committed. But thank you guys so much for joining me today on this episode of The Process. Be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Subscribers, hit the notification bell, be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. Then head over to touchdownalabama.com, pick up your subscription. With that subscription, you will get a opportunity to read all of our subscriber only articles, and also get an opportunity to read in-depth scouting reports on each Tide commit in each recruiting class. Then head over to the Google Play Store if you have an Android device to download the Touchdown Alabama app. If you have an Apple device, the app is located in the Apple App Store as well. As always, I am Justin Smith, scouting and recruiting analyst, Touchdown Alabama.
Process.